Special welcome to 1997 Super Bowl champion, number 53, Dr. George Koonce.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. A little background on George before he stands up here and gives his presentation. During the 90s, the Green Bay Packers, of course, won a lot of football games, as we all know. They were a part of 2 Super Bowls. In fact, I looked it up. They won 93 games during the decade, regular season, and were 9-5 in the playoffs. During that time, I was a sports anchor reporter at WBAY-TV 2 in Green Bay, who's here tonight. Thank you, Eric. I went everywhere with the Packers for nearly an entire decade. I worked at Channel 2. George Koonce Jr. was a starting linebacker on those Packer teams, and George and I struck up a conversation one day about doing a radio show on Tuesday nights during the season, because Tuesday nights is the players' day off. People couldn't get enough of the Packers during that time. It had been 30 years, roughly, since they were special once again. I mean, you go back to the Lombardi era, basically. I'm sure George would agree. We had a great time in Appleton. It was not uncommon to have several Packers players drop in. And that's why we're here tonight, because the place was called Route 66 in Appleton. That's where we did the show. It was right across the street from the Performing Arts Center. And the show was called the Koonce Encounter. George was popular with the teammates, and the players enjoyed coming to Appleton. In fact, it was not uncommon to have 6 to 8 players show up just for the show. They loved coming down here and being a part of Appleton and the scene on College Avenue. I share this with you so you understand part of the reason how all this came together tonight. Some 30 years later, we're back in Appleton, George, doing the Koonce Encounter. Also, thanks goes out to Mark from Appleton, who just did the introduction, because he asked me the question, Mike, do you know any Packer player who has written a book? And I said, I do. Much has changed since those great years of the 90s for George Koonce, who played for the Packers from 1992 to 1999, and then 1 season with Seattle. So 8 years in total. And you'll learn that that's a remarkable number. 8 years, because most players don't even come close to that. Koonce was an 8-year starting linebacker as the Packers returned to dominance, starting 102 of 112 games and winning a Super Bowl ring in 1997. Of course, we all remember going to Lambeau Field and hearing Koonce over and over after he made a tackle. Since he retired from the NFL, Koonce has built a successful career in leadership roles across athletics and higher education, including serving as Director of Player Development for the Green Bay Packers, Senior Associate Athletic Director and Director of Development at Marquette University, and Athletic Director at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Now, Dr. Koonce, George earned his Ph.D. from Marquette University, where his doctoral research role transition of National Football League players using the grounded theory focused on the challenges players face when leaving the game. This research became the foundation for his book, Is There Life After Football? Surviving the NFL, which received the Best Book Award from the North American Society for the Sociology of Sport. Currently, Dr. Koonce serves as Senior Vice President of University Relations at Marion University in Fond du Lac, providing strategic leadership and alumni engagement, community partnerships, and philanthropic outreach. He also serves on several boards, including the Green Bay Packers. Please welcome Dr. George Koonce Jr.
Well, first of all, I want to thank everyone for showing up and coming to spend some time with me and my old friend, still friend, Mike Counter. We go way back, and you know, he came over to my locker one day, and I was like, I wonder what kind of question he's going to try to trick me into answering, because a lot of guys in the locker room and the media, it was a very advantageous type of relationship, because back then, you know, there was only one story being told, and that was the person that had, you know, the ink pen, and whoever was, you know, telling the news on Sunday night or during the week. So for as a player, we didn't really have a voice, and Coach Holmgren once said, when a media member come and speak with you, he already has the story in mind and what he wants to do. He just needs to get a quote from you. And that kind of was true, but it scared a lot of guys, me included. But it was just something about Mike's smile, his gentleness, his, you know, his brilliance that made me say, what do you need? And he said, well, I have a question for you, football related, but I have a proposal for you. I was wondering if you would be interested in having a radio show with me. And I said, well, where would you like to do that at? You know, maybe, you know, on Kill or downtown on Main Street. He's like, no, Appleton. I'm like, Appleton? And then I kind of ran it by my little kitchen cabinet, my teammates. And they was like, well, Koonce, you know, we don't get down to Appleton much, and they're way younger. The city is way younger than Green Bay and De Pere. And I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, they're way younger. So I said, well, I got my talking point. So I went back to Mike and I said, yep, Mike, I think I want to do the radio show with you, because, you know, we need to get out of Green Bay, because Appleton is way younger. It's way younger than Green Bay, and we need to be around people that are young, you know, because I came to Wisconsin on June 1st, 1992, when I was 22 years old, and I turned 23 in October. So I was fairly young, and basically Wisconsin has adopted me because I've been here the last 34 years. And I want to try to piggyback. I don't want to bounce around too much, but I want to try to jump back to let you know how the media was kind of the media is great. I love the media. I love reading stories. I love the way they carry the Packers. I love how knowledgeable a lot of the members are, but we are human. We are humans, and you don't like everybody, right? You can have a brother or sister that just have a little rub, right? Doesn't mean you don't love your sister or your brother or your aunt or uncle, just that you may have a little rub. It's the same way with the media. Some players and some media members kind of have a little rub. But, you know, if you and your sister and brother have a rub and there's a disagreement, your brother can't go and write, your brother at home, I don't think, can go write, and about 6 million people or read what he said about you. That's what a lot of the players had issues with. And I know a lot of you are coming to us straight from work. It's been a long day, but I just want to try to frame it, my presentation, so you have a chance to kind of understand basically what Mike Counter was saying. A guy that came to Wisconsin, really didn't have any knowledge about the Midwest, it wasn't nothing against Wisconsin or Illinois or Minnesota. It was just the area that I grew up in Eastern North Carolina. Very limited resources, and when you have limited resources, you're not really looking to travel. In an 18-year period, I probably traveled about 30-mile radius from around where my home was, and that was New Bern, North Carolina. But as I got older and had the resources to travel, I had a chance to see how beautiful, how nice, and how fortunate we are to live in the United States. Is it perfect? Nope. Are marriages perfect? Nope. All marriages need to be worked upon. I know mine does. Maybe you guys are different, but mine need to be worked on, just like any kind of relationship. And I think our country needs to work on. We need to work on that. But that doesn't mean we need to destroy our great country, because a lot of people have put in a lot of sweat, a lot of blood and tears for this great nation that we live in. So I'm gonna leave the politics right there. So, so what I want to do is try to talk a little bit about the media. They really didn't have the chance to talk about where I was from, right? They might say number 53, George Koonce from East Carolina University, and it kind of stopped there, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to know, okay, well, how's George fits in with what we're trying to do from a defensive standpoint, or what Dorsey Levens how is he going to fit in as a running back for our offense? So a lot of our fans who love the Packers try to get whatever they can get their hands on. They're trying to read it and trying to find out as much as possible about the players that they love and respect so much. So what I did, with talking with Mike and having a chance to conversate with our wonderful librarian, and this is a beautiful facility. I lived in, I've been in Wisconsin now for 34 years, lived in the Green Bay area for maybe 10, lived on the east side of Milwaukee for about 7, and this is about my 13th year in the Fond du Lac area. Everywhere I stay, there's not a library. I don't care if it's 1 year old or 2 years. This is one of the nicest facilities I've ever been in here in Wisconsin, and I think we need to really pat ourselves, because what I've noticed in the Midwest, we don't really celebrate how good we are and how special we are. We kind of, when people give us a compliment, we kind of look down at our shoes, right? Whereas we should put our shoulders back and receive it, because a lot of hard work goes into raising the funds for a beautiful facility like this. I bet every city, there's over 72 counties in the state of Wisconsin, every one of them want to have a facility like this. And I'm so thankful and so honored and blessed to be able to do a presentation here tonight. So what I want to do, I want to put something together about when I was growing up, to kind of give you a little insight, because you remember the Packers, me running out on the field and people saying, you know, Koonce, but it's a little bit deeper than that, right? Because I have a family. You never seen my mom. You never see me talk about my dad, or does George have sisters? You know, did George go to high school? Of course I did. But we didn't necessarily talk about that. So I like to kind of take you on a journey. Like I said, I know a lot of you coming straight from work. I'm gonna try to, I think I have maybe 8 slides, and I'm gonna try to spend about maybe 3 minutes kind of talking through what's up on the slide, to kind of give you an idea of this young man who had a dream at 9 years old, and that dream was fulfilled when I was 22 years old, back in June of 1992. what it looked like for him growing up and going from an area with limited resources, being able to, having a learning disability, to being able to overcome that. At one point, had a substance. I had a drinking problem, but I had a wonderful life. I had a wonderful wife. She passed away probably about 16 years ago. We grew up in the same neighborhood. My dad was a drinker. My grandfather was as well. But I've been sober now for 16 years, and so it can be things that do affect you. You can overcome. I'm not going to sit up here and say that I'm better than Jimmy, because I was taught in the little city that I grew up in, you don't judge. No matter what's going on across the street or the neighbor next to you. It's unfortunate what might be going on next door, but you better not judge them. And that's part of my values, my core, or what I believe in. So let's just talk a little bit about where I grew up. Because I think you're going to see a lot of similarities. A little kid growing up in eastern North Carolina, about 20 miles from the ocean, relating to a group of people that lives in the Midwest. So let's move forward. Okay, when I was about 10 years old, I came across this scripture. I had homework, and it was Mark Twain. Mark Twain said, "Inherently, each one of us has the substance within to achieve whatever our goals and dreams are defined. What is missing from each one of us is the training, education, knowledge, and the insight to utilize what we already have." So I think what Mark Twain was getting at was that God has given all of us a gift. But what we need is someone to help us to bring that to the forefront. And that might be a guidance counselor. It might be a sister, a nun, maybe a principal. It may be a deacon, maybe a neighbor, maybe someone working at a local gas station that has a gift for working with the youth. But we need someone to help us to get where we need to go, because each one of us have a gift. And this road right here is, at 9 years old, I started working on a farm. And but this right here was a plantation, but it was but during the Civil War, it was no longer a plantation, but it had like 1,500 acres, and the guy that I worked for leased the land from this family, and this is the path to the fields that I used to go work on. I used to work in tobacco, and I used to work in the blueberry field, and I used to pick cucumbers and things like that. All right. So this is the little guy that got here back in October 15th. It's been so long ago, 1960 something. My mom said that I was born, it was rainy. That night, it was a little cold for that time of the year, October 15th. And she said that she knew at that moment, because of the eyes, I had bags in my eyes, and she said that you look like you was tired when you got here. So she said, I expect big things out of you because you've been working. You've been working your whole life. You worked those 9 months to get here. So that's my baby picture. George, and Mike mentioned it earlier, George E. Koonce Jr. My family got to North Carolina back in 1802 by way of Charleston. There was enslaved people, came through Charleston and then came down to up to the North Carolina area, and that's where my family kind of expanded to go to college and things like that, go to New York, or migrated to come to Wisconsin to get a job to really take care of our family. So humble beginnings. So that was me at 6 months old, and this is the house that my mom brought me home to. It was a little tough. I didn't really take a shower until I was in the middle school because of the plumbing. And you know, when you're small and you're young, you really don't have any kind of a filter when you're talking to your parents sometimes. And I want to know, why isn't the shower working? And she said, well, do you have $100 to get it fixed? And I said, no. And she said, well, you know, you go in the bathroom and wash up in the sink just like everybody else. And so that's what it took to have fixed the plumbing, the shower, was $100 at that time. And but what that tells me is education, doing what your parents ask you to do, or your principal, or your coaches, you have a chance to live out the American dream. Because just because I grew up there, and when I got off the school bus, you can imagine the kids they was giving me the business. They was giving me a hard time about, you live in that trap, in that dump, and that's when I learned how to fight, you know. And but you talking about being cold during the wintertime, because there wasn't no insulation in between the walls and things like that. But you know what? I learned to deal with it the best way I could, and it was the only way at the time my mom was able to provide for her 4 kids. And my mom had 3 jobs, and now I think about you know, going to work over at Marion, and some of my coworkers said they're going to take a mental health day, and I understand that. We should be able to take a mental health day, but from kindergarten to the 8th to the 12th grade, I never came home from school and my mom was laying down because she had a headache or because she wasn't feeling well, and she had 3 jobs. So I'm like, wow. And I asked her recently, I said, you never got sick? She said, of course I did. She said, but I just had to work through it. She said, I had 4 kids that I had to take care of. So we talked about my mom. There she is, right there on the right. That's my mom. That's my sister. So let me give you a little context. My mom got here in 1948, January 1948. My sister, she's the oldest. She got here in 62. My mom was molested when she was 13 and had my oldest sister when she was 14. But she said, well, guess what? I know who that individual is. He's a part of the family. He's my uncle. But you will not know that side of the family. Maybe she could have done it a different way, but that's how she knew how to do it, because she said, I'm not going to give him access to my kids. So there was a whole side of my family that I didn't even get a chance to know till I was 27, 28, probably a Super Bowl champion, because my mom felt that was the best way to protect me and my brothers and sisters, because she was molested at 13. That's my baby brother. He was born in 72. I got here in 68. I needed some braces, and we did get some braces for me. And then my sister, the one on the left in the white shirt, she was born in 64. My oldest sister was born in 62. The article over on the far right was when I was at East Carolina University. They was having an article talking about how was it to be raised in a low-income household and things like that. And I didn't think it was a story, because that's all I knew. All I knew was I was going to do the best thing I can to take care of my mom and my grandma, my mom and dad, and my sisters. And that was to go to school, make them proud, get a degree, and hopefully get a job. So, so that was me and my family right there. So life in NFL. My mom came to a game, but here's a video for us to watch.
And the Packers with two big plays. An 80-yard pass played on Beebe, a 75-yard interception return for touchdown by George Koonce.
All right, thank you. So the picture up there with the lady that made a button that says Koonce. My mom, I was so excited. We had a home game. It was the home opener for the Packers. So I flew my mom up for the game, and she was so excited. I think she was in section maybe 120, 122, something like that, about 7 rows up. And I made a tackle, and the fans, you know how the fans, when I made a tackle, they would say, so my mom broke out in tears, and the security guard, a guy named Jerry Perrins, ran up into the stands to make sure everything was okay, and he came back. I said, "Is everything okay?" He said, "Yep. Your mom kind of thought they was booing you," and she said that she told me that why would they boo him, because ever since he was 9 years old, he wanted to play in the NFL and play for the Packers, and that broke my heart. And my mom and I reassured her that wasn't the case. Your son is one of the fan favorites, and so she started saying Koonce, Koonce, Koonce. So she took the picture with the ladies, and that picture is on her nightstand. So it's been on her nightstand for over 36 years. And the other pictures with me and Brett, they put Brett's name on the facade of Lambeau Field, and I wanted to go and support him. So that's the backstory for that story. One day I went to practice, and I think we talked about it earlier, the time, Lombardi time. We wanted to be a little bit early. So Reggie White, practice started around 1:15, and Coach Holmgren wanted to be there around 1 o'clock, 1:05. So I was there around 1:05, like the majority of the team. And Reggie kind of strolled in probably around 1:10. Practice starts at 1:15. He's still not late. So I was being obnoxious. And I said, "Coach, we got to find Reggie. He's late, Coach." And Reggie said, "You need to be quiet and mind your own business." And I said, "Well, I think I'm going to take your advice and just go stand over there, because I don't want you to give me the club or how you be doing the offensive lineman." So after practice, Reggie and I walked up to the locker room. Well, he walked. I was on a little bicycle, and Reggie used to love walking with the youth and talking to them about their grades and things like that. And so we going back up to the locker room. It was different back then. Reggie only had let's say maybe 30 people around him. Now they might have 100 people. So we get up to the locker room, and I looked in my locker, and there was something hanging in my locker. And a lot of times you get a note from, let's say, the front office, because we didn't have the cell phones, right? So they would call the front desk, and they would write a little note on a pink slip and just leave it on your locker. "George, you need to call your mom. George, you need to call your agent, or you need to call, your grandma. She's trying to get a hold of you. Check your voicemail." So that's what I thought it was. So I walked over to my locker, and I saw this hanging. And it said, "To Koonce, keep working hard. You're going to be great." Let God lead you. He will direct your path. Reggie White, number 92, 1 Corinthians 13. So here I am on the football field, practice field, making a big deal that he's late, whereas he's up in the locker room writing a note some 36 years later that I'm able to share with you. So you can imagine how tall I felt or how big I felt, you know. But sometimes we get in our own way, our arrogance and things of that nature. But what that taught me was, you know, people, majority of the time, see something in you that you don't really realize you have in your own DNA. So that was a nice note I thought I would share with you. So life can be tough. There was a young lady that I grew up with, her mom and my mom. Her name was Tanisha Abdullah. She became Tanisha Koonce and had a little boy, a little girl. And at 38 years old, at 35, she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. She battled that disease for 36 months and passed away. And every Mother's Day, we go and celebrate her. My son put flowers at her grave back in North Carolina. Life is tough, but life is also beautiful. You have to keep the faith. So 5 years after Tanisha passed, I was able to meet a young lady from down in Milwaukee. Her name is Gina, and we've been together now for 13 years. If Tanisha would have still been living, we've probably been married now for about 20, 21 years. And she was brilliant, came from the same type of neighborhood, or we was from the same neighborhood, the same type of family, low-income family. But she had an academic scholarship. I went to East Carolina on an athletic scholarship. She went to UNC Charlotte on an academic scholarship, and when she got there, she went to work for a place called, like, I don't know if you have them here, they call like Dollar General. She worked at a Dollar General as a freshman, and she worked as a freshman through her senior year, and that kind of paid for her to go to school. And then once she graduated, she became the store manager, and then 4 years later, she became a regional manager, and she had like 15 stores. And then at 35 years old, when she was 6 months pregnant with the little guy she's holding, a guy named George Pop Koonce. There was a guy on my team named Bryce Pop. You know, I know we get hung up on this black, white, Hispanic thing, but if you know Bryce, he's white, right? But that didn't mean that he and I couldn't have a great relationship. And I remember having lunch with Bryce one day. I said, you have been an unbelievable friend to me. He said, well, George, likewise, you've been a great friend to me as well. He said, are you going to Bible study tonight? I said, yep, I'm going to be there. And I said, Bryce, I got something I want to run by you. I want to get your approval. This is like in '94. I said, if God blesses me with a son, can I give him your name? And Bryce said, I'd be honored. So Tanisha went through all types of treatments to get pregnant. It took her about 5 years to get pregnant. And then once she did get pregnant, she came down with stage 4 breast cancer. And little George Pop, he was 3 years old, so he really don't remember his mom. He's a sophomore in college now. But I wanted to just say that a lot of stuff that's going on now doesn't make sense, because that didn't stop me because of where Bryce is from. He just happened to be from Iowa. So what? We connected. We were really good friends. And so for the rest of my son's life, he's going to be carrying a guy that, you know, it doesn't matter where he's from, but he's an unbelievable guy, and my son is named after him. So I just want to share that with you. And then Gina, who came into my life 5 years after Tanisha had passed, and then we've been together going on 13 years, and it's been a blessing, even though it was tough to go through having hopefully none of you have ever had anyone to transition or to pass away, but it is tough. And but I've been blessed to meet someone, to fall in love again, and to live out the rest of this, what we call life. So we talked about growing up in Eastern North Carolina. Education was the most important thing for my family because we felt like to kind of get out of that situation, you had to have some type of skills, whether it was going to a technical college or a community college or Lawrence University or Ripon College or UW Green Bay or East Carolina University or UNC Charlotte. My family felt like, you know, you have to get an education. So I did that, and then my uncle and my family said, well, you can't stop there. You need to be the first one in our family to get a Ph.D. And so on May 20th in 2012, I was able to graduate with a Ph.D. from Marquette University, which is the first Koonce to graduate with a Ph.D. in my family. So, thank you, Mike. So I've always, after being in the locker room with Reggie White, was all about, the community, and also pushing other individuals to go to school, just to try to be the best. If MATC or if Fox Valley if that's the best you can do, let's do it. If it's Lawrence, if it's UW-Madison, let's do it. So the lady in the middle, that's my wife, Gina. When we met, she just had her high school diploma. Now she has a master's, and I think she's in the application phase now for Harvard and to get a PhD from Harvard or UW-Madison. So we'll see how that works out. And on the far right, back in 2024, for all the work that I do for the communities, especially raising money in the urban community of Milwaukee, I earned the Black Excellence Award in 2024. It was over 700 people there, and one of my biggest supporters was Laura and David and Rachel Kohler came, and Tom, and I know a lot of you know, Tom and Renee Bolt came as well. I befriended Tom and Renee Bolt when I came on the board about 8 years ago for an organization called the Nature Conservancy. Some of you probably never heard of it, but it's all about the conservation of land and water. And Tom approached me about joining the board, and I gladly accepted it, because growing up in Eastern North Carolina, there was a lot of rivers, a lot of creeks and things like that. So we didn't have a lot of resources personally, but our area was rich in resources. So for his birthday parties, family reunions, graduations from high school, or reunions, we would rent out. Wouldn't have to rent out. You have to put your name on the list for a park. So everything, because the weather was good, we stayed in the parks, and then my father would take me fishing. I love to go fishing with my father. So so joining the Nature Conservancy with Mr. Tom Bolt, that was a dream come true for me. And Tom has now since gone to emeritus status, but he's also on the board of, let's see, the preservation, the Kohler Trust Preservation for Land and Water, and I went on that board as well about 2 years ago. So he's still trying to help because climate change is real. Because I think we all was affected maybe last week, maybe Wednesday, Thursday. I don't think you was immune to what happened with the fires that's going on in Canada. Because just because you have an imaginary line saying that this is America and this is Canada, that smoke don't give a damn about that, right? Excuse my language. Maybe you could strike that, but it don't care. It don't care about that, right? And for an area, I think if I read it right, that Canada has over 800 individual fires that's going on right now, over 83,000 acres being burned. And so I think we should be trying to send some firefighters or some resources, helicopters with something, some fire repellent, because I would hate to see that what happened to the North Woods, a beautiful area in Wisconsin that we all go to during the summer and go to the lakes to see 800 fires going on up there. But we have to be we have to be good to our neighbors. And if we're good to our neighbors are going to be good to us. Because if the shoe's on the other foot, it's one thing that is happening to them, but it easily could be happening to us because we've seen what has happened out in California, how total neighborhoods have been wiped out because of wildfires and things of that nature. So, it's been a blessing for Tom Bolt to approach me to join the Nature Conservancy. And the book, Is There Life After Football? Survive the NFL. Two professors at Marquette University, a guy named Dr. Jones and I, we collaborated. They took my dissertation and said, George, we should, see about making it into a book and turning it into a book. So I said, well, I don't have any knowledge of a process of writing a book. So they took it, took my dissertation, and they took it to the provost of Marquette University, and then she took it to the New York NYU Press, and Sports Illustrated said that it's one of the top sports-related books in the country at that year when it came out. So very proud of that. And I tell a lot of students, they say, what would you do different? I said, well, I didn't dream big enough. I dreamed that I wanted to go to college. I dreamed I wanted to play in the NFL, but I didn't dream I would receive a Ph.D. I didn't dream that I would receive a Super Bowl ring. So to all young people, you have the ability because they all have a support system. I haven't met a guidance counselor yet that's saying that they want their kids to fail. So we have a lot of resources in schools. We have a lot of neighbors that want to see our youth succeed because we know how hard it is. And so we just have to be able to get to our youth because they have a lot going on right now we didn't have to deal with the social media, but there's a lot of bullying going on. And so we have to be able to intervene and kind of stop all that before it really gets going. And I think mentors are very, very important. The couple to the left is John and Irma Daniels. There's a a law firm in Milwaukee called Koonce and Brady. It's the second largest law firm in Wisconsin. I think they have close to maybe 1,000 attorneys now, but Foley and Lartner is the largest law firm. Koonce and Brady is the second largest. And Attorney Daniels was the chairman. He said that in 1974, when he graduated top of his class at Harvard, when he came to Koonce and Brady, he went from being, I think they had 170 attorneys at the time. He was the last name on the letterhead, but after about 30 years, he went from being last to being first. So that's someone that has really mentored me and given me guidance, especially when I was going through a tough time when Tanisha passed away. And the other picture, I think you recognize that was a Monday night game, and Reggie White and I was just taking a break on the sideline. Yep. But also too, when you've been mentored, there's going to be a time when you have to mentor. And there's a young man, his name is Chris Borland. He went to the University of Wisconsin. He went to the NFL, and he was unbelievable, but he was a very bright young man. And he flew from San Francisco to Chicago, and then from Chicago to Appleton. Then he drove down to Fond du Lac to have dinner to ask me about concussions and how was life after football. And I asked him, I said, do you want me to kind of sugarcoat it, or do you want me to just tell you how it is? He said, I just want you, he said, I didn't fly all the way from San Francisco for you to sugarcoat it. And I said, well, for his concussions, I had 17. He said, whoa. And I said, for his surgeries, I had 7. I said, but it wasn't. He said, my mom said, you tell him the truth. Don't just tell him about the surgeries. You tell him about the infections you had. So I had 7 surgeries, and after my 7 surgeries, 2 of them, I had an infection. And the only thing that brought me through was because I was 25 years old and I was 27 years old. So can you imagine if I would have been, let's say, 58 and had surgery and everything went well, but now I got an infection? So I had a great conversation with Chris. We had dinner at a supper club, as we know, that's our bread and butter here in Wisconsin. And Chris, after his rookie year, decided to step away from football, and I think he's still in the Madison area. I've lost contact, but I wouldn't be surprised if Chris is an attorney doing something special in our state and in Madison. So now my job is over at Marion University, and I try to take students. You see them, first graders and second graders. I try to take them up to Lambeau, give them a tour. And also, too, the Green Bay Packers told Marion University, said that George he's done everything the right way. So what we'll love to do, we'll love to have an endowed scholarship at Marion in honor of him, and because it wasn't easy for him, and we'll love to have other students come through and get a great education as well. And Mark Murphy on the far right said, if Marion, if you can raise $250,000, we would give you $250,000. So over like a 4-month period, and Tom Bolt and Renee Bolt was very instrumental. So we reached that goal, and now that fund has about $560,000 in it, and we're expecting our first group of students, which are going to be about 10 coming up. That's going to be on campus coming up this fall. So I know we talk about the Packers and what they do on the field, and we are cheering about, you got to beat the Bears. Well, we know they got to beat the Bears. But they're also doing things behind the scenes that can change people's lives. And then giving back to the community. Right here is going and doing, there is a homeless, I don't like to call them a homeless shelter. I'm just going to call them unhoused. I think that sounds a little bit better when you say homeless. They're unhoused. So I go and volunteer for the different shelters throughout Wisconsin. And also too, that organization that I told you earlier that Tom Bolt, Renee Bolt brought me into, the Nature Conservancy. We was able to get funds from the Packer Foundation at the tune of $150,000. We just have to match that to give them, the Nature Conservancy, $300,000, and we was able to do that as well. And in downtown, there's a skyscraper downtown Milwaukee. There's a company called what is it? This Church Mutual. I don't know if you ever heard of Church Mutual. Church Mutual, you know, you have car insurance, you have farming, you have home insurance, but Church Mutual, they insure places of worship, whether it's a synagogue, a temple, a church, you know, just a place of worship. Is over in the western part of the state, and I've been very active in helping them. So they have a headquarters. They moved the headquarters over downtown Milwaukee, and they named the conference room the Dr. George Koonce Innovative Center, and that was the mayor, Cavalier Johnson, to the far right. And then next to me is my teammate, Leroy Butler, and that's Rich Poirier, who was the CEO of Church Mutual. He helped to take Church Mutual from a $1 billion company. Now it's a $3 billion company, and he's retired and he lives up in the Sturgeon Bay area. And now I've convinced him to come on board of the Nature Conservancy. So, and one of the last things, I know Mike mentioned that I'm on the Packer board of directors. Back in 2019, we was having a board meeting, and all of us been in board meetings, and they talk about new business and old business, and Mark Murphy, the president at the time, said, "Is there any new business?" And a gentleman raised his hand and said, "Yep, there is some new business." There's about 45 people in the room, and they were like, "Well, I'm looking at the documentation. I don't see any new business." And Mark Murphy said, "Well, can you tell me what is the new business?" And he said, "Well, we're going to put in an application to bring," this is 2019, "we're going to put in an application to bring the draft to Green Bay, Wisconsin, that's going to benefit the whole state of Wisconsin." And you would have thought he was the guy that said that was Richard Pryor or Eddie Murphy. Everybody started laughing. And he's still standing. And Mark said, you could take your seat. And he said, "Well, not until I get a vote." He said, "Well," then Mark said, what do you want to see happen?" He said, "Well, I like to start a task force and get a group of people together and see if we can put an application together to see if we can bring the draft to Wisconsin." And then Mark Murphy said, "Is there anybody else in here that want to be a part of this sideshow?" And it was about 4 people, and I had 17 concussions, so I volunteer for anything. So I just raised my hand. "Okay, George, you part of it." It was like 4 of us. So we put in the application. In 2019, New York said no. 2020, no. 2021, Roger Goodell flew to Green Bay to tell us, no, and hope that we'll stop sending in applications. But people in Wisconsin, we don't just stop like that. We got more we got more chutzpah than that. So 23, we put another application in, and they said no, and they said let's get something straight here. To get the draft, you need hotel rooms. And let's be honest, you do not have enough hotel rooms. The reason why Chicago gets the draft and Nashville get the draft, because they have hotel rooms. And then somebody really, I'm not calling, somebody that had a lot of energy told Roger Goodell, thank you for coming, but we'll figure it out. So he left and everything, and they said, well, what we need to do, we need to canvass the neighborhood. We need to go around in Ashwaubenon, all around around the stadium area, and just ask the community, the homeowners, if we would to get the draft, would you be willing to, let's say, go on a vacation to Florida and let's say rent your house out for 7 days? So we did the canvas. 98% of the people said they would do that. And then we asked the individuals, we don't want to put your name, but is it okay if we put the number of bedrooms and the number of bathrooms? So we crunched all those numbers, put in our application. So in 2025, we got the draft. And it was the first time that a state government official, Wisconsin was the first time that donated money to help bring the draft, because Governor Evers, on behalf of the people of Wisconsin, donated $2 million because we had to raise $10 million to bring the draft to Wisconsin because of security and things like that. But we had over 600,000 people over like a 4-day period, and it brought close to $325 million to the state of Wisconsin. So I think the $2 million that he donated, I don't care what your political affiliation is, but giving $2 million and you bring in $325 million, I think that was a great investment. So that group. You got Mike Haddad to the far right. He's the CEO, chairman of Schreiber Cheese up in Green Bay, one of the bigger companies in Wisconsin. That's myself. Then you have Roger Goodell, and then you have the guy beside him. He is the executive. He's like the county exec for Brown County. And then you have Kate Burris, who has an unbelievable company called Elevate 96. She's from originally, I hope she doesn't mind me telling her story, but she's from Plymouth, Wisconsin, over by where Johnsonville. And a family of 5. Her dad decided not to come home one day. And so her mom had to raise 5 kids, so she started cleaning houses for a living. And then Kate went to Marquette University, paid her way through school, met a young man. They moved to Green Bay. She started a marketing company. Now she does marketing for, I think she has like about 300-400 employees. She does marketing for Clorox, Tide, Old Navy, things like that. So she was the co-chair along with Mike Haddad. Then you have Governor Evers, and then you have another young lady who is on the Packard board with us. Then you have Mark Murphy. That was the task force that kind of wouldn't say no back in 2019. And I think we're kind of getting, I think it's been getting a little late, right? So how many more slides we have? I think we may have one more. Perfect. So my theme and my parting words to you tonight is dream big, be inspiring, work hard, and fall forward. And the reason why I say fall forward, because each and every one of us, we're going to fall at some point. So if we're going to fall, let's not fall backwards or to the side. Let's fall forward. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being patient with me tonight and going through my presentation. And hopefully you learn a little bit more about George Koonce than you did before. Thank you, Mike, and your lovely wife and your family. Thank you for taking the time and inviting me and bringing me to Appleton. Like I said in the locker room, the city is really young. It's younger than Green Bay. So thank you so very much. And